creators of our Declaration and our Constitution wanted to make sure that our new states and our new government wouldn't do the things to them that Britain had done to the citizens who had come to the United States to start a new life, oppressing what religion they could have, putting troops in their homes, doing all of those things. And so the framework was made so that the federal government had certain rights and obligations and responsibilities set down in the Constitution, and that all other rights not specifically given to the federal government was given to the states. And so the states do have lots of power, and their power is separate from the federal government. A lot of people will take the 10th Amendment and apply it simply to interstate commerce and say if it doesn't have something to do with interstate commerce, or it's not a right specifically given to the federal government, then they don't have any right to interfere with what the states do. Many states like Montana go against some of the proposals that the federal government comes up with. One of them is the ID Act, the Federal ID Act, where the federal government wants every citizen in the United States to carry a federal ID. Montana was one of several states who said, no, we won't do that. You don't have the right to do that. The Constitution doesn't give you the right, and we will go against that. We will not enforce it here. You're seeing people in some of the northeastern states, Connecticut, Vermont, who are not turning in their firearms. They have made certain types of firearms illegal there, mainly semi-automatic rifles, and citizens are required to turn those in, and you're seeing some of those states not doing that. Law enforcement are not forcing their citizens to do that and claiming that the federal government does not have the right to do that, nor does the state have the right to do that. And so you'll see this come up occasionally, that the states will go against the federal government and say under the 10th Amendment, you don't have the right to do what you're doing. I think people don't really think about how it affects them, but every time you go to the grocery store, every time you pay your taxes, you're involved in the 10th Amendment. The federal government regulates so many things that are bought and sold in our grocery stores, any interstate commerce, anything that crosses state lines, agriculture, meat, even the labeling on seafood products now. The federal government regulates that. If you go buy some shrimp in the store, it has to tell you where it came from. The federal government regulates so many things in our daily lives that you can't not be affected by the 10th Amendment. Everything that you do at some point in time is either controlled by the state or the federal government or both. And so this is definitely something that all of us are affected by, even if you don't realize it. When created, the states would not have individual rights. Some states, for instance, Texas, have right in their constitution that they may secede from the United States by a vote of their people. And that gives the states rights. We wanted to have 50 individual states that we have now that all agreed to be part of the United States, to be part of the Republic. And the federal government should only have a certain amount of power to help regulate that federal government and regulate those states together in the Republic. We have different viewpoints in different states. It's important that the states be allowed to control their own environment, control their own people, their own policies, their own money. Montana has a lot of resources. It's really important that we be able to do what's best for Montanans, what's best for our state, and not let the federal government, regulate everything we do and not let the citizens here have any choice in the matter. What would happen if we didn't? We would have tyranny and oppression, and we would have a federal government that basically told us all what to do, and the states would have no rights. There would be no point in being Montana or North Dakota. We would simply all just be under the federal guidelines. Whatever the federal government told us to do, we would have to do. I think depending on what part of the nation you're in, the perception is different. In Montana, we like our privacy and we like to do the things that we want to do here. We don't like the federal government telling us what to do every moment. I think there are other states that encourage the federal government to help them and to pay for programs and to help run their state and bail them out of jams. And so I think that a lot of the citizens don't really think about how this affects you every day and what would happen if the states lost their power, how we would lose the grassroots control we have of our government. And the government would be overseeing the people instead of the people theoretically overseeing the government, which is the way it was intended to be. Well, if you want to just let this go away, the federal government can run all of the states. We can just do away with the borders and the individual outlines that make Montana, Montana. And we can all just be part of a federal government that just oversees everything we do, tells us what to do with very little choice. We would, even by our population base alone, Montana has about 1 million people. There's that many in the suburbs of LA. They would have a bigger voice, and we would be doing at whatever the will of the rest of the country was with our resources, with our state. If everybody else in the nation didn't like hunting and fishing and wilderness, they would just do away with it here. We wouldn't have any say. The federal government could do whatever they pleased, and so this keeps us a unique, independent little government that does what we want to do for Montanans.